Today it was raining a little bit as we started off our day, and Danny was assigned to take us out. And by us, I mean me, Thomas, and Fritz again. Since we had already cycled through and each one of us had gone first, second, and last, I got to start us this time. They were like, okay, well, let's start over again. Who did it the first time this week? That was Alan, so let Alan do it. That's fine. I went ahead and started off, and I am proud to say I hit no curbs. I crossed over no white lines. I also stopped behind all the white lines at stop signs and at traffic lights. I went through 2 roundabouts. Granted, one was just a right turn and the other one was all the way around. Both flawless. I was like, no curb at least. And, I stopped. And the only problem with that one was we pulled up into a pilot and they said, okay, he says, line up in alley dock. Here we go again with the alley dock, I tell you. So I lined up, started backing up, and came to realize that I was about a third of the way over, starting to drive right over top of one of the lines. Now there was no truck on either side, and for a few different, few over. So that was at least good. And as I started back up in there, I realized pretty early that I was totally off. And, if this is the lane, I was like here, over not where it should have been. Not quite centering it, but about a third of the truck was on the line. So I was like, pull forward. And he was just like, why are you pulling forward? Just put it in the box. And I was like, I can't put it in the box. I pulled forward. And at that point I was kind of flustered because it's like, I wanted to center up, and he was like, well, why are you doing this? And you need to make sure the trailer is straight. Cause apparently I was like this and he says you should start off like this. Well, the reason I was this way is because I was already going to turn it that way. And that was kind of the angle I wanted to ride in. So he was like, no, straighten it up. So I was like, okay. So I straightened it up. And then I at this point it was like, turn left, turn right, turn left, turn right. And I was like, okay. I mean, he knows how to do it really well. So, granted I didn't get in there, so I don't blame him for telling me, but it was one of those things where it's like, after I become his remote control, I'm like, okay, tell me where to go. And then as soon as we got in there, we pulled back out and went onto the interstate. And there was an area of the interstate that we went to was having some areas, not with road construction, but it's closed off like it is. So it got down to like 60 miles an hour. And the one side came all the way up to right outside the white line. So if you go over the white line, you're going to get, scrape up the side of the truck. But no, I did great on everything as far as I'm concerned. I didn't, and I even asked Danny, I said, what would you say I need to work on regarding the on the road? Because as soon as we stopped, and he just said, all it is practice now. He says, you know what to do, just practice. And I'm like, well, the practice is happening, at the school. When I'm done, no telling, what's going to happen. There was, Thomas, he did well too. Fritz he's tired because I don't know if I had said it in the past. He's working right now from 6 until 2:30 a.m. and then he's coming to join us from 8 until 4:30. So he's just tired, but he's luckily tonight not working. So he'll come in refreshed tomorrow, see what goes on. Well, that was morning. And then afternoon, they, Ruben asked me, what did y'all do yesterday? And I told him parallel parking. I promise I could talk on left side and right side. He said, okay, practice alley dock. I'm like, thank you. I did not want to do offset and straight back. Now, today, they also had a new guy who's going to be up. He's going to be one of the employees over at the Macon location. He's starting on Monday there with 2 students. His name is Steve. Experienced guy, got a CDL in 99. He's been driving, been instructing for the past couple of years, or at least instructing the last year. And I don't know what he did the other year. Introduced myself to him, and I'll tell you, the instructors that work with us every day, we know them. We know that they all have their different techniques on alley dock and stuff. But if we want to try something, they'll say, okay, find it, feel it, do what you need to do. Steve was, he had no experience with us. So he came in with fresh students and was treating us like fresh students because he didn't know us. So as I started to back up, of course, I started botching it, which is what I do on alley dock. And so he starts, turn left, turn right, turn left. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. You know how I am. I don't want to be a remote control. And, as I start to turn left and say, this is what I want to do. And he's like, motioning me. And I'm like, as soon as I don't do that, he starts yelling out and I'm like, okay, redirect it. And again, no fault of his. He doesn't know us. It's coming in and meeting everybody new. And then he did ask us, what's your experience? And I said, we're all at the end of our third week. And he's like, oh, okay. So you test next week. I'm like, yeah. And I'll tell you, it's the technique I did the other day on the alley dock, the Mike Sloan, I think it was, technique. It wasn't working for me today. I did it once and came in way too close. And then I had to go forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward. I basically had to do 4 pull-ups, but it didn't hit any cones. So as long as I didn't use any of my points on the straight back or the offset, it would be flawless. It would be, as far as I'm concerned, it would be, and I shouldn't say flawless. What I should say is I'd have plenty of points. That's the way to word it. If flawless is not it. I don't know why I said that. I would have plenty of points. So if I could hit a few cones, I could do a few pull-ups and I'd still get in the box. So, and I told him, I said, if I can get close, I said, I'll get the alley dock in time, but right now it's not working for me. And he told me his technique. He said, and the thing is though, it just in my mind it's one of those things where I can't wrap my head around it because I don't have the feeling for it yet. I'm still wearing gloves. Can't feel it yet. But his technique was, instead of starting farther out, he said, start closer in. So the cone that's basically centered in the line, start there and then start to turn and go towards aim for about 3 feet inside the box. As soon as I cross that threshold with the rear of the trailer, cut it really hard, jackknifing. As I get to the point where I can start to see the hub on the rear tire, as soon as I can barely start to see it, as soon as I just start to see it, straighten up and turn all the way over and chase it in. Well, he gave me markers. He said, go there, aim for this, turn your wheel, aim for this. When you get there, watch for the line in the mirror to intersect where the truck is going. And the point where those two start to intersect, cut the wheel really hard. And then as soon as you get to the point where you can see that hub, cut it back the other way and chase it right in. I'm like, it sounds so easy. And so I said, okay, I'll try your technique. And I have tried other people's techniques over there, and it has just not jived with me. I had 2 times left by the time I said, okay, Steve, I'll try your technique. I'll try it. And actually, I had 3 times. I take that back. The first time, it went in with 2 pull-ups, and I was like, okay, that worked pretty well. The second time, it went in with 1 pull-up. The third time, I was back to 3 pull-ups. But and I think the second time, I should say, no, it was the first time, because I had 2 pull-ups on this one. And at that point I was frustrated because I didn't get the angle just right. And as I started to back up there, he was watching me and directing me in and stuff. And I got to the point where I twisted it around there and I pulled up a couple of times, and I got pretty frustrated just because, at that point I still couldn't get it in there. And I'm just like, as I'm backing up, I'm like, trailer, just go in the box, stop messing around, get in the box. And I'm flying, my tongue's flying off like a sailor, just cussing up a storm. at the, luckily there's nobody in there. I mean, they could be recording me for all I know, and they're going to hear some colorful language. But, I did get in there eventually. I think at one point I basically saw myself going toward the cone, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go until I hit the cone. I don't care. And, and he hollered at me, and, I pulled forward, and then I started going again, and he hollered at me when I hit the cone again. But this was the time that I was done playing trucks. And so at this point I knew I was close. It was like the box was here. I think I was like here. And if I just ignored that one cone, I consider it up there. So I was just like, drive over, get in the box, and step away. Because at this point, I know that wasn't the right approach. I know that. I didn't hit anybody. I wasn't like driving recklessly or anything. I just went over the cone. And then when he yelled, I'm like, nope, I'm just going to put it in there. So as soon as I stopped, I saw him go around and straighten up the cone. And he get out and says, you hit that cone. You kept on going over. I'm like, yep, I know. I was like, I was done with it this time. I want to think about this. I said, I tried your technique and I'm thinking about it. I'm going to get better next time. But this time I wanted to finish it. And once it's in the box, I can straighten it up. No problem. I wanted to just finish so that way I could think about it. He's like, what's he going to say? He was just like, all right. Nice guy. His approach was not one that I was used to, because I'm used to, the other instructors. But every instructor, has their own different tricks and different ways of doing it. And I'll tell you this, I wish I would have practiced it more today, because I think there is something to it. He basically said that that if the space is like this, if you start closer to the middle and you start backing up from the middle, then you have plenty of room to swing out and straighten up when you get there. If you start way down here, it's going to be a tighter turn, but you have plenty of room to straighten out. If you start way up here, you don't have enough room to swing around before you go into the line. That makes sense. What I've been doing is if there's a center cone over here, I've been lining up on the outside side of it. But I remembered back to Jason originally when we first started working on it. And Jason, when he first told us, he said, start either straight down the middle or even start a little closer. I was lining up in the middle. So that's two instructors that have told me that. So I'm going to rock that approach when I work on it again, which hopefully will be tomorrow. I did ask Grumman today how I'm doing on my classes. He said the only thing I'm lacking, he says, I have a 100 on, he said 93 is the top score you can get in the school in Georgia, which is a performance score of 100. And I kind of looked at him. He says, there's some things other states have to do that we don't. And I guess it's like either California regulations, or they want you to understand how to, put on snow tires or something. I don't know what it is. Chains. I don't know. There's a few percent that have to do in their master list that they go down and they say, this is applicable to Georgia. This is applicable to Georgia. This is applicable to Georgia. This is not. This is. They go down and 93% of their list is the best you can do, because that's what we're required, and they can ignore the other stuff. So to me, that worked well. To me, I was like, okay, pre-trip is spot on. He says, you got 100 on that. Okay. The one thing is we haven't done pre-trip in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, maybe even not even all week. And if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So what I need to do is practice it. I've been going over it in my mind. I've still been practicing in my mind. But again, if you're not evaluated on it, you're going to lose it. So I have to work on that. I know that that's something that I feel good about. I need to make sure that I stay on top of it, because I'm going to end up forgetting something, like forgetting to say that the fuel tank doesn't leak, or I'm going to forget to say, something. And I'm making the pre-trip better in my mind, but it's not the same as performing it. And if it hadn't been raining all week, I'd be out there. I've been arriving early, like at 7:30 all this week, because expecting traffic delays. And I've been arriving between 7:30 and 7:40, and most people don't arrive until like 10 minutes later, sometimes even until 8. But I want to get back into the habit of practicing it, opening up the hood, going through there and saying what things are and doing the routine and practicing it. So I'm going to start looking at the paper again because I need to. Pre-trip is extremely important. And I can't just say, well, I got a 100, that's it. Because the school does not matter. What matters is the performance on the exam. The school matters for your grade. But I can't just tell the guy at the DDS and say, well, I got 100 on this at the school. He's going to say, so what? Tell me, show me. So, the school, I'm doing well at the school. The only, and I got a green light on the on-road too. The only thing I need help with right now of the 4 main maneuvers is the alley dock. The other 3, when I do things the right way, when I set things up and don't just try to fix it on the fly and just, well, it'll be fine, then I'm fine. But when I'm nonchalant about it, and that was even the conversation that I had with Reggie first up. He says, you're going into this with no ego, you're going to do fine. At this point, though, I'm like, yesterday I was like, why are we doing the parallel? I don't want to do that. I want to work on alley dock. So I started to, I was like, all right, line up this thing. It's going to be fine, and pull the, start to angle over. I'm like, my line's off. It'll be fine. And then I got complacent. So I need to just, if I do it again, I know what to do. I've done it. I even know the lines in my mind. It's just, I wasn't taking the setup properly. I wasn't doing what I needed to do, and I need to. Yeah. So, and that's it. I mean, today, alley dock, it was all over the place until I tried Steve's technique. Steve is with us tomorrow morning, and then he goes down to Macon to get ready because they start on Monday. So I hope that we get alley dock again tomorrow. It'd be a great way to finish out the week on alley dock. Start us off, do some pre-trip with us. Let us go through the pre-trip. Love to. I don't think that as soon as we get it and it, counts as 100%, we should just, you'll be all right. Because that's how you'll get caught. So I'd like to actually do pre-trip tomorrow. I know that next week, Thomas wasn't there one day and half of another day. They'll probably want to keep us manual transmission people together. So I've been there every day. They'll probably bring us in for one additional day, maybe 1.5 days, because we got to make up for Thomas. And they'll probably want to just go and have all 3 of us manual transmission people test on the same time. So Monday should be our last day. We'll probably make up for Thomas on Tuesday, and then probably go in on Wednesday, and then they'll schedule us Thursday. We'll see. Yes, okay. I was just, suddenly I thought about something. I was like, wait a minute, what do I have Thursday? I have something, and it's in the evening. It's a call I have to do. But yeah, I felt like I am seeing the line better. When I lean forward and out the window, I don't look back over my shoulder, but I look in the mirror. I get really close and I look at the mirror and I look at where the line is. And I feel better about getting close to that. I still need to work on it. But I feel like the last 3 times I went, I'm kind of feeling a little better about seeing the line and feeling that. I would say confidence is at maybe 40%. The other day I said it was 25, then it was 50, then it was a little bit more, then it went back down. Right now I'd say 40, because today when I got in the truck, it was just not working. Then I tried Steve's technique, which is similar to Jason's. And Danny's technique is a little bit different. He wants you to, he says, turn it a little bit, then go straight, and then turn it, hook it in. There's truth in that too. It's just, I don't know that approach is going to help me, because see a mark, go straight. See a mark, go straight. If I could get that line down and then go down. But you see, I see other things online of people that say, if you have 2 cones here, what you need to do is aim for kind of on the other side of them. So that way you can, if anything, you can tighten up and get it in the box. But if you go too close, it's too tight. You can't do this number because then you end up hitting the cones over there. So it's just, it doesn't work that way. It's better for you to overshoot the box a little bit if you can't nail it straight inside. So we'll see what happens there. Feeling better about the driving. The on-road I felt very good about today. I liked it. Liked the way that I worked. Danny didn't really complain about me anything today. I was even talking to him, just having a conversation. He did, as at the very end when we were pulling into the Flying J, when we changed out. I pulled up and we pulled straight in. If there was 2 spaces back to back and there was no trucks nearby, so, except on the left hand side. So we pulled straight in and we're just going to pull straight through. And apparently I was too close. He says, you got to get over here. And he says, you like getting on that edge of the lane. And I looked, and sure as the world, that mirror was getting close to the next truck's mirror over there on the other side. So I need to work on that, especially when I pull into places. Oh, there was one thing today that caused me to have my heart jump and skip a beat. And that was because you know how it is when cars start to, they're at a red light and then there's a turn lane that appears on the right-hand side, then it makes a turn. Well, I had pulled off. I was going slow, only like 15 miles an hour, and I pulled off to do that and then started to square back up into that turn lane. And suddenly it was like, oh crap, where's the end of the trailer? Is it running into the tail end of that car? So I skipped a beat for a second. Trailer ended up missing him, and not by like an inch, but that made me nervous for a second. I was like, should have gone a little farther over and then straightened back up. But then if I do that, if I go over the white line, it's very interesting to me. I think I said this yesterday. You can go into the oncoming lane to make a turn. You can go over the double yellow lines into the oncoming lane as long as that rear right tire does not go and it does not pop over the line. That's perfectly fine. Go into the oncoming lane. Use 2 lanes, use 3 lanes, use whatever you need to in order to do your turn wide enough. But for God's sakes, don't cross over that white line in the back. That to me sounds like it needs a little work. Like you should be able to use your judgment as long as you're not knocking out a tree or knocking out a sign or hitting a car, or hitting a pedestrian. Sounds to me like a fail is a little drastic, because there are a couple of times when I made pullouts and I'm pulling up like this, like so close to the side of a car and then going straight in line with it. I can imagine the person in the car like, whoa, what? I mean, he almost hit me. I can imagine that. Now, granted, cars don't just skid sideways, not when they're stopped, but I could imagine being that car, and it's happened before. I'd be like, whoa, he cut that kind of close, but he was making sure he didn't go over he or she, I should say, were making sure they didn't go over the white line at the back. So anyway, so there we go. Today was officially day 18. Tomorrow's day 19. Monday's day 20. And I really hope tomorrow they don't tell us, oh, we scheduled your exam for next Monday. I don't want that. I need to work on the alley dock. We'll see what happens. Getting better every day, which is good. Want to freshen up on my pre-trip, make sure we're good on that. Want to see how the students went. I found out that everyone who tested yesterday failed. 3 people. Day before that, 2 people passed and 1 person timed out. So she's got to go back and retest at some point. Monday, I don't remember. I probably said it on Monday. But anyway, so there you have it. There's another day, day 18. It is a crash course. There's a lot of stuff about doing this that there's a lot to learn. Now, I did start reaching out to companies. A couple of them have written to me. And the only one that really has told me anything so far is JB Hunt. I've seen their trucks all over the road. They basically said that they have 2 different, they wanted to verify my address because I put it on the form I filled out. And they have two different modes that I could potentially be an apprentice for. I'll tell you about that in a second. The first one is a local hire. local, which you have to live within 40 miles of that particular location. I live at 46 miles from it, so that one doesn't apply to me. The other one is you'd be an apprentice also, but they would have you home all but 2 nights a week. So 2 nights a week, I would be on the road, staying overnight in a parking lot of one of their customers. And I would be driving a flatbed. So they said, you would be, and she said, now, are you a manual transmission? I said, yes. She says, good, because you need to be. So I would have to have that, what is it, an endorsement, or have that I would not have that a restriction on me. I would be able to go there and drive that. It's an 11-speed, I think she said. And I would be, as an apprentice, for 6 weeks, I'd be on the road with somebody else who would be training me to make sure that I could do the job and drive it safely. And then after that, I'd be on my own. And they want you to stay a year. They said they don't make you sign a contract because that gets a little messy if you have, something come up. A family member or something like that dies and you have to take care, or you have, children that you have to, whatever, just depending on your situation. But they said that they don't do contracts, but they expect you to stay the full year if they spend the money to train you. Doesn't sound unreasonable. Now, what I'm going to be looking for is other companies too. I'm going to see, because I do know JB Hunt as a name, but I don't know them as an employer. I don't know what their deal is. I don't know if it's a standard offer that a lot of companies will do the same thing. It could be that I find a place and they're like, oh yeah, we'll train you for we'll train you as long as you need to, either 3 weeks or 10 or whatever you need to, and then we'll put you out there. I don't know. So, she did make a lot of sense when I talked to her. She said that it used to be that you would only have to stay on board with 6 months, but now they could be a little pickier because there's more of a demand. And I was like, I thought there was a driver shortage. But apparently there's been a lot of people that have been joining and looking for work, so they're being a little more selective. She told me there's only a few applications of apprenticeship positions available, and so I would basically be going for one of those. And I said, well, I don't have a CDL Class A just yet. I've not taken the test. She says, all right, well, when do you test? I said, next week. She says, I'll follow up with you in 2 weeks. I said, okay, fair enough. Once I get it in hand, then it will make more sense for me to then I at least have the prerequisites down. So it makes sense for them not to want to mess with somebody until you have all the prerequisites down, because otherwise, what if I failed so many times and I just can't ever seem to pass it? Then they wasted all this time. So it makes sense from a business perspective. But I'm going to look around and see what all I find and how to do it, because there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of companies out there, and I have a few leads that I'm going to follow up with. But we'll see what happens. So yeah, so far, there's a lot to think about. I'm very much glad today I got to do AliDoc a bit, because that's something I'm not confident about just yet. So yeah, good.